Now is the time to make an action, to narrate the future, to paint the picture of a better future, to paint the picture of the possibilities. Maybe whatever's in our heart, whatever God placed in our heart, it is something that we will be privileged to be the pioneers. We will be the privileged to be the trailblazers. So let us not limit ourselves. So ito na, paint the future, narrate the future of all the possibilities. So let's not limit ourselves. Challenge the status quo. So whatever that's existing, let's not be content with that. Let's not be limited by what we can see. Let's not be limited because that's working, yun na yun. So, di ba, we have a thinking, if it ain't broke, why change it? Of course, sige, it can still work, but eventually a new player will come, a new company will come, a disruptive company. So kahit nag-work pa yun, obsolete ka na. Challenge our assumptions. Sometimes kasi we are limited with our actions, with what we do is based on our assumptions. But what we need to do is to challenge our assumptions. Na even if we feel like it's not working, baka naman we need to challenge our assumptions and change some parameters, change some variables para mag-work. Kasi minsan we are so boxed kasi ito na yung the way that has been working for years, or ito na yung ginagawa ng mga institusyon, ginagawa ng mga forefathers, but it doesn't mean that it won't change. It doesn't mean that it can't be better. Let's not box our thinking na dapat ganito lang yung ginagawa natin because hanggang ganito lang. No, whatever we do, we need to believe that there's greatness inside of us. God gave us the ability to produce wealth. God gave us the wisdom to perform. So let's use that. So I hope that we will use it not para sumikat tayo or for our own gain. Use it so that it can be of value to people. So let us not be boxed. Let us be constantly allowing ourselves to push the bounds. Hey guys, welcome to Rooftop Reflections. Change is something that's constant, something that we can't avoid, diba? The famous statement that the only constant thing in this world is change. So something that whether we like it or not, it's something that we need to embrace it. As we embrace the change, the reason why we don't want change as well, because there will be losses. Yun eh. Kaya ayaw natin change. There will be losses. There will be something that we will not be able to do because of that change. So, baka may ma-miss tayong certain practice, may ma-miss tayong certain environment, may ma-miss tayong certain lifestyle. So, because of the change, it's coupled to loss. That's why our brain is sensing, ayoko ng change because may losses. But the thing is, knowing that pagka may change, may losses, it's something that we need to acknowledge. It's something that we need to be honest with ourselves na ito yung nararamdaman ko because of the change. So, speaking of that, yung psychology of change, speaking of change as leading to losses, I think that's a different video in itself. Psychology of change and other stuff. So, ibang video na yan. But like what I've said, yes, change, it could lead to something that could lead to losses kasi the change, whether it's positive or negative, there will be losses. So it's something that we are yearning, and that's a valid emotion, that's a valid feeling. Yes, there will be losses when there will be changes, but there will also be a great gain when we have those changes. Super great gain as well. And like what I've said, itong mga changes, we know that it's something that it's inevitable. So knowing that it's bound to happen, what we need to do is not just to be passive about it, but to be proactive. That when there will be change, hindi tayo puro reactive. Kasi sometimes, pag may change, nandyan no choice but to adjust it. But what we need to do is now to take charge and be proactive to anticipate the change. Not just to wait for change to happen, but we can also make things change. So that's our rooftop reflections, or indoor rooftop reflections, under the rooftop reflections, anticipating change. So now is the time that we will be more passive. Oh, mali pala. Now is the time that we will be more active and not passive about change. Na hindi lang tayo magiging reactive pag may change, but it's something that we will look forward to. It's something that we will anticipate. Speaking of anticipating change, I hope you are excited for our video today. This is a Rooftop Reflections exclusive. Under the Rooftop Reflection exclusive, we will have an acrostic, a practical step or steps that would allow us to anticipate change. So there are a lot of ways where we can anticipate change, but I made this structure at least on how it made sense to me so that it could also be of value to you. So again, guys, if you know people who would benefit from this video, people who you know that sometimes they are challenged in facing changes, so please share this video to them, tag them. So the reason why I'm doing these videos is so that whatever's inside my heart, ma-share ko sa inyo kahit nasa bahay lang tayo. So here it is. So we have an acrostic. So here is our acrostic on how to anticipate the change. Anticipating the change. Kasi we need to understand the changes that we are experiencing today, the new normal that we are experiencing today, it can also be the old normal tomorrow. So that's why we will not be reactive in terms of changes, but now we will be proactive. We will now anticipate it. Here is an acrostic for us in anticipating change. So the word that we will use is of course the word change. So magsimula na tayo. So letter C is choose to change. Choose to change. So it really starts with the choice. Dito talaga magsisimula yun eh. Understanding that the change is inevitable, that it's bound to happen, that it should be solid within us. Now, I need to embrace that change. I need to start the change. I need to anticipate the change. So it starts with the choice. We need to choose to change. Kasi nga, di ba, meron resistance if we will not change. So knowing that it's bound to happen, baga, decision na natin. Start by choosing in changing. Start by choosing in anticipating to change. So I have a sub point for that. For our letter C, first sub point is choose to grow. As you choose to change, letter A, choose to grow. Kasi I hope that we will not just change for the sake of changing, but we will change so that we can grow, so that we can be better, so that we can learn. So, hindi lang basta change para masabi nagbago, para masabi we're not doing whatever we're doing in the past kasi obsolete. But when we are changing, I hope it would propel us to greater heights. It would propel us for us to be better. It would level us up. So, I hope that we choose to grow. So that's letter A. And then B for this sub point is, yes, as we have chosen to grow, we will also choose to give. Choose to give. Meaning, anong ibig sabihin ng choose to give? Pag pinili na natin mag-grow at mag-level up, it will enable us to give more. Kasi if you notice in the previous videos, lagi yung slant ko in terms of our videos that whatever we do, it's not just for ourselves, but it should be of the upliftment of people, so that we can help more people, so that we can bless more people, so that whatever is happening, hindi tayo pabigat, di ba? Whatever we will do, when we change, when we grow, sana sinasama natin yung mga tao, it would position us better so that we can be a blessing. As we choose to change, we should choose to change that it would lead to growth, and also it would lead us to give more. So hindi lang basta change for the sake of change. And like in our situation now, we are in a crisis, and we know in a crisis just like this, a lot of people are affected, a lot of people who have been negatively affected, and people who lost their jobs, people who lost their businesses, no clients. So of course our hearts goes out to them, but at the same time, there are also people in the same crisis. They are thriving and not just surviving. Speaking of thriving and not just surviving, I made a video of that. There are people that they are thriving as well. So, as they have chosen not just to grow, they have also chosen to give. Kasi when you start a business, especially in this time, it will not just help you and your family for your livelihood, but it will also help other people, kasi you can give employment, you can serve the community, you can be a blessing. So that's what we need to do in letter C, is choose to change, choose to be better. And for our next letter is H. So harvest information. Super important, especially in our time where we are in the information age. Dati, 'di ba? The companies in the 1990s, 80s, or in the early decades, yun talagang mga naging rich na companies is yung mga oil companies. Pero ngayon, it shifted, the technology shifted. So what's happening now is because of our age na digital, of our age where it's information, so dun papunta yung potential in terms of business growth and revenue. So harvest information. But what's important as we talk about information, there are a lot of information that's spreading. What's important that the information that we will choose is hindi dapat fake news. Something that's legit, something that is verified, something that hindi lang gawa-gawa, but something that would guide you. So, information is power. Sobrang importante ang information, especially when you make decisions. An informed choice is good. So, I think that's a different video in itself, decision making. So, information is powerful. So, what I did is we have an acrostic for us sa letter H in harvest information. First subpoint is past information. We need to harvest the past information. Past information, balikan natin yung history. Go back to the past. I always remember my teacher, he said that history repeats itself. So what we need to do is we need to at least go back to what happened before, not necessarily just our past, but also the past of our ancestors, the past of other people who faced what we are facing. So, an example of that is what happened in 1920, which is the Spanish flu. So, now we are experiencing a global pandemic, so yung COVID-19, and if we study history, the last global pandemic was in the 1920s. Yung sa Spanish flu, super dami ng namatay during the time. So what we can do is to learn yung mga best practice nila, to learn ano yung mga mistakes nila at wag natin gawin. So in checking the history, in checking the past, what we can learn from the Spanish flu era is that yung second wave of yung sa disease, dun mas nag-spike yung number of deaths because of the second wave. Because people were so excited to go out, they've flattened the curve, pero yun nga, na-excite na yung mga taong lumabas, so now, mas nag-spread lalo during that time, so nag-spike yung mortality rate. So, learning from that, and now we are experiencing this global pandemic, so ngayon, we are shifting to GCQ in Monday. For some people, you haven't seen broad daylight, di kayo lumalabas for the past 2 months, and baka you are so excited to go out, and please still be very cautious, do the due diligence, wearing face mask, social distancing, hand washing, please gawin pa rin natin yun So we don't want na mag-spike ulit yung second wave in the Philippines, although some people can argue na, teka, bakit yung second wave sa Philippines, excuse me, some will say, hindi pa nga natin na-flatten yung curve, di pa nga totally bumababa, so it's not totally considered the second wave kasi parang nasa first wave pa rin tayo. So regardless of how you view itong first wave, second wave, what's important is we should learn from the past, yung sa Spanish flu na nagkaroon ng influx again or spike of cases or deaths because of the people excited going out. So, sana ngayon, please be very careful going out kung hindi naman kailangan lumabas. So, please do not go out. So, that's the first subpoint for harvest information. Harvest the past information. So, tama sinabi ni AM Kadyang learn from mistakes. So, it's good that you learn the mistakes of what you did when you were younger or in the past, na kung dati mapurok ka so sana hindi ka na mapurok ulit ngayon, o di ba? May mga kaibigan ba kayo na marupok, hindi mapurok, marupok. May kaibigan ba kayong marupok? So if you are marupok in the past and alam mo marupok ka, so baka it's something that you need to be cautious and more guided and more accountable. So harvest not just the past information, but the second subpoint is harvest the present information. If we apply this in a business sense, so we need to know the landscape. We need to know the market. We need to know the competitors. Yes, AM ka dyan, marupok. So, sorry. Ano ba sinabi ko? Mapurok. Parang purok, it's a place eh. Mapurok. Or basta yun nga, marupok. So, now, as we do it, tama, sabi ni Iko eh, even if nasa general community quarantine, we are still in the queue. So, nasa quarantine pa rin tayo. So, we still need to still be cautious and be prudent as we stay at home. So, sa present information nga, we need to, like, in a business context, so, sino ba yung competitor? Sino ba yung may market share? Ano ba yung what's happening now in the current landscape? So, as we are trying to anticipate the changes in the future, it's good to know what's happening now. Kasi kung puro past lang, okay, that's good. But you need to know what's happening now. What's the technology now? What's available now? What's the trend now? What's the in thing now? What's the pulse of the people now? So we need to harvest not just the past information, but we need to harvest the present information. Next naman, as we have harvested the past information, harvested the present information, now we need to harvest the future information. And speaking of future, I'm not saying that time travel is real. I'm not saying na na-prove na yung theory of time travel. So that's a different discussion based on how you view that. Hindi ko naman sinasabi na nakausap mo si Marty McFly. Naabutan niyo pa ba yun, yung back to the future? But what I'm saying, because of the past information that you have, the present information that you have, you can have future information with what we call projections. So because of the information that you have, you can extrapolate the data so that even if it's not yet happening, based on the trends, makita mo, dun papunta yung market, dun papunta yung trend, dun papunta yung demand. So because of studying the past, studying the present, you can extrapolate data, you can have projection. An example of that, hi Paul William Flores, we need to know what is currently happening and why it is happening, because if we do not open our minds to see the questions, so mahaba, so kailangan pindutin, we might either be a victim of the past or a victim of the present. So yan, so it's good not to be victim. So tayo kasi, tayong alam lang natin na victim is victims of love. Yan, dyan tayo magaling. So thank you Paul William Flores. As we understand the past and the present better, so we could have projections of the future. So an example of that is because we know of the technology, the advent of technology, like Facebook, Google, and we know that it started because of programming. It started because of coding. So what the action plan for that, for us to anticipate the change, is if you have a kid, or if ikaw, kung gusto mo, it's good to have the skill of coding. Pero mas maganda, if you have children, if you have nieces, or kung magkakaanak ka in the future, what you need to do is to train them, expose them in coding. So yung mga games nila, coding, hindi lang yung kung anong games sa smartphone, but maybe train them early in terms of coding so that yung mga pastime nila, what they will do is they will build apps. Kasi yung coding, yan yung ability wherein you can do apps, you can do programs, and if the program is really good, it can lead into something that's big, and it can be a global phenomenon like Facebook. So it's good to see the future. So practical step dyan on how to anticipate the change, learn coding, learn whatever skills that you need so that it can better propel you in the future. Since we are already in the advent of artificial intelligence, maraming nare-replace ng mga jobs. So, yung mga computing, yan yung nagagawa niyan eh. But if we want to anticipate the change, if we want our skills to still be relevant in the future, what we need to do is we want to level up with our skills to still be up to date even in the future, is we need to focus on the skills na hindi nare-replace ng machines, hindi nare-replace ng mga apps. Yung mga type of job is yung jobs that would lead to creativity. So, yung mga ganyan, hindi nare-replace ng mga machines yan eh, yung sa mga creativity. So if you want to at least make yourself more skilled in terms of being more relevant in the future, is yun nga. So yung mga skills na medyo on the right side of the brain, creativity, or again like what I've said, yung coding, super beneficial yan if you would learn how to make apps, make programs. That is projection. So harvesting information, that's really important. So as we harvest information, so we will harvest the past, the present, and we will make projections. So the next letter, nandito na tayo sa A, which is acknowledge reality. So habang nakuha na natin yung information, yung past, yung present, and yung possible projections natin, first subpoint is acknowledge our strengths. We need to know kung saan tayo magaling. We need to know our core competence. We need to know kung saan yung strength zone natin. And we need to double down on that. Kasi yan yung wiring natin, yan yung gifting natin, yan yung mas innate sa atin gawin. And there's a big possibility that we are passionate in doing that. And if we are passionate in doing that, syempre mas mag-level up tayo. We will go the extra mile. So it's good that as we get all of those information, the past, the present, and the future projections, is we acknowledge it with reality, ground it with reality, understanding kung ano yung strength natin, understanding yung core competence natin. So, I remember a friend of mine na he is a guy into finance. So, his focus or his strength is really in finance, but yung forte niya is yung corporate finance. So what he's doing in this quarantine is he's learning but still in his strength zone. So now he is learning yung sa area of stocks, area of forex. So at least nasa strength zone pa rin siya, nagdo-double down siya kung saan siya mas nagbibigay ng value. So acknowledge the strength that you have, acknowledge reality by acknowledge the strength that you have, but also yung second subpoint is to acknowledge your limitations or acknowledge your weaknesses. So kasi yung weaknesses natin that can hinder us to move forward, that can hinder us to propel to greater heights. So if we acknowledge yung limitation natin or weaknesses natin, what we can do is to level it in such a way that it can be in a level na manageable. It can be level na hindi pabigat sa team. It can be a level na makakasabay kahit papaano. Or at least as we acknowledge that limitation or that weakness, we can delegate or we can have people in our team who can focus on that na yun yung strength nila. So again, as we get all the information, as we try to anticipate the change in the future, it needs to be grounded with reality, understanding kung ano ba yung strength natin and understanding ano yung weakness natin. So that's letter A. And letter N is narrate the future. So kasi aanin natin yung information, aanin natin if we acknowledge that information. Now is the time to make an action, to narrate the future, to paint the picture of a better future, to paint the picture of the possibilities. So as we narrate the future, so what's important dyan is, di ba, maybe whatever's in our heart, whatever God placed in our heart, it is something that we will be privileged to be the pioneers. We will be the privileged to be the trailblazers. So let us not limit ourselves. So ito na, paint the future, narrate the future of all the possibilities. So let's not limit ourselves. So before, in the decades past, in the years past, yung communicating with one another in a different place, that's just only a pipe dream before. But someone did his part and really just focusing on the solutions, on focusing on being a blessing to his community and society. And yan si Alexander Graham Bell when he started the telephone. Tama ba? I hope I remembered it right. Alexander Graham Bell, yung sa telephone, si Thomas Edison sa bulb. So basta yun, si Alexander Graham Bell yung sa telephone. So now, because of his innovation, because of him pioneering that, ngayon, di ba, we can communicate with one another kahit nasa mga bahay tayo, even if we are in different parts of the globe. So share your vision, narrate your story, and we have a subpoint for that. First is challenge the status quo. Challenge the status quo. So whatever that's existing, let's not be content with that. Let's not be limited by what we can see. Let's not be limited because that's working, yun na yun. So, di ba, we have a thinking, if it ain't broken, if it ain't broke, why change it? Of course, sige, it can still work, but eventually a new player will come, a new company will come, a disrupted company. So kahit nag-work pa yon, obsolete ka na. It's just like Nokia, because they did not innovate. Yes, it's very functional yung mga phones nila. Sino dito, you had a Nokia phone 5110, 3310, 3210. Matibay yun. Kahit na-hold up, pwede mo ibato sa hold upper. Hindi pa rin masisira yung phone mo eh. Diba? Matibay pa yun eh. Yeah, it's still functional, but ang tanong doon, the market, would it still be susceptible or would see value with your product? So, that's why it's important to always challenge the status quo. Whatever's working, just think of ways on how to level it up. So as we narrate the future, ito kasing action steps natin eh. Kasi the first letter is challenge the status quo. The second one is challenge assumptions. Challenge our assumptions. Sometimes kasi we are limited with our actions, with what we do is based on our assumptions. But what we need to do is to challenge our assumptions. Na even if we feel like it's not working, baka naman we need to challenge our assumptions and change some parameters, change some variables para mag-work. Kasi minsan we are so boxed kasi ito na yung the way that has been working for years, or ito na yung ginagawa ng mga institusyon, ginagawa ng mga forefathers, but it doesn't mean that it won't change. It doesn't mean that it can't be better. So, challenge assumption. So, maybe an example of that, if our assumption natin, sige, yung mga leader ay sa organisasyon or sa country dapat lalaki kasi sila talaga yung mga leader. So if that is your assumption, you need to challenge that. There are a lot of women leaders who are great. Some pa nga mas magaling sa mga men leaders. Again, not to put some leaders down, but reality, we can challenge our assumptions na thinking that leadership is not just for men but it's also for women. An example of that, for the women leaders who are watching, saludo ako sa inyo. Comment below kung nanonood kayo. Thank you for what you are doing. So, we are here to break the glass ceiling together. So, yun. So, as we talk about an example of women leaders, of a person who is leading a country, one who I admire, who I look up to, is the Prime Minister of New Zealand, si Jacinda Ardern. I hope you know her. Super galing niya, super yung heart niya. So kahit kapanganak niya lang, ang dami nangyari in her country, but what she is doing, ang galing ng ginagawa niya sa New Zealand. So, siguro maraming tempted pumunta sa New Zealand. But still, we are still blessed here in our country because we are still living sa sariling bayan natin. But bottom line, yung point ko lang doon, we need to challenge our assumptions. That's just an example of that. So, maybe another example, challenge your assumption, thinking mo pang music ka lang, maybe challenge that assumption. Malay mo na hindi ka lang pala pang music, pang sports pa, or whatever, diba? So, do not be boxed with that. Kaya nga, narrate the future. So, narrate the future. Paint that future. Some point natin in letter N, so we said we challenge the status quo, we challenge our assumption, and then the third one is to challenge ourselves. Super important to. Kasi it should start from ourselves, in our thinking. Let's not box our thinking na dapat ganito lang yung ginagawa natin because hanggang ganito lang. No. Whatever we do, we need to believe that there's greatness inside of us. God gave us the ability to produce wealth. God gave us the wisdom to perform. So let's use that. So I hope that we will use it not para sumikat tayo or for our own gain, but use it for the glory of God. Use it so that it can be of value to people. So let us not be boxed. Let us be constantly allowing ourselves to push the bounds. And example of that, yung kuya ko na Marvin Germo. So he started YouTube and now he is 100,000 subscribers, and then I saw just 2 days ago 109,000 subscribers. So imagine, he's just pushing the bounds, challenging himself to be better, challenging himself to really add value. So we need to do all those things. So challenge ourselves. And just like what happened, di ba, umuulan, pwede naman sabihin ko, hindi, umuulan so tigil natin yung video. Pero yun nga like these videos, I'm just challenging myself kahit mahirap gumawa ng content. And honestly speaking, it's not easy to make a content na value-adding na may acrostic, pero I know that it would be of help to you. I know that because the reason why I'm doing these videos is hindi ko nga kayo makausap face-to-face, pero I hope these videos would be of encouragement to you. It would help you sort your mind. So, I'm just constantly challenging myself. Sige, kahit napag-usapan na yung change last week, yung new normal, let's talk about change because this is something that's of value to people. This is something that would encourage people. Is something that would add value to people. So, challenge yourself. So, again, for those of you who are watching, please share this video as well. If you know that it would be of value to your friends, your office mates, tag nyo lang sila dito, share this video. So, again, let us narrate the future of the possibilities in the future, basing our information of the past information, the present information, and our projection. So, challenge the status quo, challenge our assumptions, and challenge ourselves. What we need to do is letter G, galvanize the people. Galvanize. So, medyo big word, galvanize, when parang vulcanize lang, no? Yung galvanize, it means that you will arouse people to be aware of something, to be excited. So, yung subpoint natin dyan, as you galvanize people, yung first subpoint is galvanize yourself. So, dapat, the change that you are anticipating, the future that you are seeing, dapat ikaw mismo, very excited. Dapat, it burns inside of you. Parang si RJ, a man of passion. Something who is excited of the possibilities in the future. So, dapat that vision that you see, the change that you are seeing, dapat sa'yo pa lang parang dapat punong-puno na, kaya nag-overflow. It would naturally radiate to people. It would encourage and motivate people. As we galvanize people, galvanize ourselves, yung second subpoint obviously is galvanize others. So, that vision that we have of the future, that better future, kasi we need to involve other people. We need to rally the vision in our hearts for them to catch the vision as well. Kasi we can't do it on our own. We need to remember that whatever greatness that's in store for us, it's not accomplished by our own. God will send people to rally with us, to help us, to guide us. So, if you think the future that you are anticipating is something kaya ko to, and I'm happy for you, but just rethink, baka the future that you are predicting, anticipating, it's something na medyo, it's not as high in terms of impossibilities of that dream. Kasi kung di ka naman kinabahan, kung you feel like kaya mo lang mag-isa, di kaya mo talaga yan. But I hope, and as I challenge you to break the status quo, challenge you to break the limits, is make dreams, make the futures, make the pictures of the future something na parang kakabahan ka. Kaya ko ba talaga to? Kaya ko ba to make an impact into my generation? Kaya ko ba to start my own business and to feed the community sa Rizal, to feed the community here in Makati? So, if you are just thinking small, maaaring di mo kailangan ng ibang tao. But if you are thinking big, allowing the greatness of God to flourish, it's something that you need to have people with you. So, not just galvanize yourself, but also galvanize others. So, the last letter E, is expect the unexpected. Expect the unexpected. So, no matter how you planned it, there is a possibility na hindi mo talaga mapaplan lahat. So, example, like how we started this year, excited tayo lahat, Vision 2020, ito yung mangyayari sa atin in the future, here is our plan, that then boom, biglang nagkaroon ng lahar noong January, which we never planned, tapos nagkaroon pa ng global pandemic, which it never planned. So what I'm saying is, even if we have done all our due diligence, is hindi pa rin natin ma-expect lahat na yun yung mangyayari. But still, it's good still to do the letters that we have done, because it will position us to better anticipate the change. So, syempre, yung etong naman global pandemic, it's something naman na once in a lifetime. But for the most part, it's better still to anticipate the change. It's better still to harvest information. We need to always remember na pwedeng hindi rin mangyari yun. As we put this to a recap, and as we are trying to anticipate the change, letter C, we need to understand that we need to choose to change. It starts with us. Choose to change. And then also, as we choose to change, subpoint of that is choose to grow, and then choose to give. Because as we grow more, as we choose to change, it will enable us to give more, to be a blessing more to our generation. And then letter H is to harvest information. The past information, the present information, the future information, or our projections. And then letter A is to acknowledge reality. You know, that information, it needs to be grounded with reality. It needs to acknowledge yung strengths natin and also our limitations. And then N, as we have that information, as we are grounding it in reality, now is the time to narrate the future, to challenge our assumptions, to challenge the status quo, to challenge ourselves to be better, to do things that we haven't done before, to do things, to be a pioneer in our generation, to do things that would be of blessing to our generation. And of course, as we have painted that picture of our action plans, we can't do it on our own. That's why we need to galvanize others, to vision cast to them the great things up ahead in the future. Galvanize ourselves and galvanize other people. And then lastly, no matter how we plan, what we need to do is to expect the unexpected. Those are the things that that's in my heart, at least to better anticipate for the changes in the future. Because like what we've said, changes it's something that's inevitable. It's something na alam natin for sure that it's going to happen. But what we need to do is, knowing that it's bound to happen, itong mga changes, let's not be passive about it. But now is the time to be active. Now is the time to take hold and to be active of anticipating the possible changes. It would propel us to break the bounds of what we can do. Kasi hindi lang tayo magiging reactive eh. We are the agents of disruption, or tayo yung magpropel ng change. So whatever status quo, just go ahead, disrupt the future. Because they said the better way to know your destiny is to change and create your own destiny. But the good thing with that, in whatever destiny we are talking about, we have a God who has a great destiny for all of us. So again, as we are talking about change, what's important is not to be reactive. But of course, pag nandiyan na yan, we need to be reactive. But what's good is we already did the due diligence. We have tried our best to anticipate the change. And anticipating the change would position us better to succeed. So whatever changes that would happen, it would not lead to losses. Of course, there might be some losses, but it would lead to greater gain as we have prepared more for that changes. So, I hope guys you learned something. If this video is adding value to you, if you know it would help you or your friends, please tag them. Please share this video. Kasi hindi ko kayo makausap face to face eh. So, at least in these videos, matulungan ko kayo, ma-encourage ko kayo. And if you have any comments, if you have any suggestions, please do let us know. Or let me know. So, that's our Rooftop Reflections, Anticipating Change. God bless you. So, any questions? So, I hope you learned something in the video, guys. Any questions? I hope this added value to you. So, among the letters, ano yung tingin mong you need to take to heart more? Or ano yung something that you need to improve on? So, whatever plan, sometimes, kahit anong planning natin, it's beyond the bounds of what can happen. But again, it doesn't mean that hindi tayo magpaplan. It's still of prudence na magplan pa rin tayo. At least it can position us better to have greater gain in that change or in making the change in the future. Jenny Nuas, letter E, I think we have plans gawin, plan A to Z, lahat ng possible scenarios. So, yun nga eh. So, as we have that plans, as we are trying to anticipate the change, so meron tayong plan A, B, C, or hanggang Z. Pero sometimes, kulang wala sa letters na ginawa natin yung change. Katulad nung, eto, nasa quarantine. No one expected this last year. Thank you guys for watching in this indoor rooftop reflections. Umuulan kasi. So, I was trying to push to do the video outside. But again, zeal and passion without wisdom is foolishness. So, prudence and wisdom led me here. So, thank you guys for joining us. Well, please comment below whatever things na natutunan nyo. Comment it and let's learn together as well. God bless you guys. Thank you so much. So continue to share this video and like this video. God bless you. Thank you.